Hello everybody, welcome to the first episode of the Above Par Golf Show. Today I'm going to be talking about the Memorial Tournament that's coming up this weekend. So it's a much more harder tournament than it was last year. It was already a very tough golf course, but this year it's going to be even tougher because even before the last set of golfers were finishing last year, they were completely changing the course. They were already digging up the greens to replace them. I think the fairways have been changed as well. So the golf course itself is going to be a lot harder, a lot firmer, and they've added in a lot more trees in the rough areas. I think something like another 140 trees, which if you cut out the par threes is probably like another 10 trees per hole. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting this year, a little bit more harder. Like I said, it already was really one of the hard golf courses. So today I'm just going to be talking a little bit about, well, who's the favourites, who are maybe the slight outsiders, and who are the really black horses for in terms of who we think is going to win this year, or at least place maybe in the top 5 or something like that. So I'm going to start with the outsiders. I think one person that stood out in particular but didn't quite make my pick was Brendan Steele. Brendan Steele, he's not missed a cut in 12 starts since 2021. And he finished tied 13th, I think it was, last year in last year's Memorial Tournament. So considering he comes in at 250 to 1, that's a pretty handy bet that you could possibly go for the outsider. Another player that I've really kind of liked watching recently, who's really impressed me, is Sebastian Munoz from Colombia. I think he's come in with 3 top 10s so far in 2021. He's just been playing some really, decent golf, I'd say. He's not been outstanding, but he's not been poor either. And I think, over the last, let's say, 5 weekends, I've just seen him popping up on a lot of first page and second page leaderboards. So again, coming in at 125 to 1, could be a really good pick. In terms of my 2 picks for the outsiders this week, I've gone number 1 for Doug Ghim. I think even though he's quite inexperienced, he's kind of the new kid on the block. He hits his irons really, really nicely. I think maybe his putter lets him down a little bit. I watched him last week and at the Charles Schwab, and I think he just kind of found a little bit of something with his putter. So if that's anything to go off and he can really kind of get hot with that putter, he could be a good outsider to watch. I did see him in a tournament of maybe 3 or 4 weeks back when he was doing kind of really well after the first couple of rounds and kind of just completely lost it. I think he hit it into the water a couple of times and he just kind of not lost his head but showed a bit of inexperience. But I think now that he's got a few more tournaments under his belt, he's only getting better. He, like I said, he hits his irons really nicely, so if he can get that putter going, he could be a really nice bet. So he's one of my outside picks at 125 to 1. And then the other player that I really like on the outside is Kyle Stanley. And to be honest, again, he's at 125 to 1, which I think is a really good price considering. He's been in the top 40 in the last 4 events now, including a tied 8 last week at Charles Schwab. He's been really handy, like tee to green, hitting a lot of green in regulations. But one thing that I think is going to be really important in terms of him is that he's been really good at scrambling so far in 2021, and with these new greens that are there at the Memorial Tournament now, I think scrambling is going to be quite an important stat for each of the golfers, because those greens are going to be really firm, and I think even hitting greens at this tournament, you're going to find that a lot of them are going to still end up off the green surface. So yeah, it could be really interesting to see how the big scramblers in the game perform this weekend. Now looking into the kind of mid set of players, not the favourite, but maybe the still slight outsiders. Again, I picked 2 favourites in this kind of section. Just to start with the people that I was kind of looking at but didn't decide to pick, I think Matt Fitzpatrick was a really tough one to leave out. He's a really, really good young player. Really loves to play at tough golf courses. So again, this one being really tough this weekend, he should be up there, I think, at least within the top 10, if not trying to have a chance of winning it. But again, I remember watching him towards the start of the year, and when things don't go quite his way, he does get a little bit angry with himself sometimes and kind of bottles it in that sense. But again, really, really good golfer. Just needs to kind of maybe find a bit more consistency, and loves a tough golf course. So I think at 33 to 1, he's a possible good kind of mid-range bet. Sam Burns was another one on the list, but I think, to be honest, with the injury that he's had at the Charles Schwab, it's just best to avoid him. He's coming in at 50s this weekend at 50-1. Obviously coming off that win, and then he had the second place. But then with this back injury after 6 holes last week, I just can't see him competing to win it this week. There's, especially when it's a back injury. So I avoided him this weekend. Another guy that's been popping up a lot recently and playing really, really good golf is Kevin Streelman. He's coming in at 60-1 this weekend, so I think he could be a really nice bet, maybe as an each way one at 60s. Plays some really, really good golf, like I said, and he's showing up on a lot of leaderboards recently as well, especially when he gets that putter going. And then the final one that, again, I kind of didn't pick but really kind of wanted to was Emiliano Grillo from Argentina. He's been a really, really nice tee to green player. And I think he's tied 3rd in greens in regulation this year, which is pretty impressive. I think behind Colin Morikawa and a couple of other players. And he comes in at 70-1 this weekend, which I think is pretty good. He's been in the top 10 quite a few times this season already. So another decent outside one to go for. But the ones I've settled on for this mid-range section is, first of all, Cameron Tringale. I think he's just a really, really good all-round player. He's had 4 top 10s in 2021 so far. He's got a really nice high scoring average. Again, really good scrambling game, which I think is going to be useful this weekend for the players. So yeah, I think one thing I noticed with him is that he's had the lead a couple of times in, I think, round 3 and round 4 and just kind of let it slip. So again, maybe just another one that just needs to kind of hold it together on a Sunday or a Saturday. But he's coming in at 100-1, which I think is a really nice price. And then the other one is Peyton Kaziri. I think he's had 5 top 10s in 2021. Again, another player that has a really high percentage of greens in regulations. And when he gets hot with the putter, which he can do a lot, and he has done already this season, again, could be a really good one to be in contention come Sunday. And he also comes in at 100-1. And then now in terms of the kind of favourites, the more obvious choices, again, I'm going to talk through the ones that I've kind of avoided. Jon Rahm was a big favourite coming into this as the champion last year at 10-1. But I think there's a couple of things. I mean, he is a big fan of hard golf courses as well, so it was hard to overlook him. But since he's changed his clubs, he's changed from TaylorMade to Titleist or something like that. He's just been really up and down in terms of his form. He has found a little bit more recently, but then he's had other distractions as well, like recently becoming a dad. And even though he's shown some kind of recent decent form, I'd say, I'm just still not ready to back him when he's the 10-1 favourite. Rory, this has been a really tough one. I mean, he comes in at 16-1. I think he's 3rd favourite. I think the main thing with Rory is I'm just not sure which one is going to show up, right? Like, he's obviously got that win recently, but then he also got like I think he was below the 40th place or something, which in the players, which just is way below his standard. And I think one thing that's been letting Rory down is his driving game, and with these new fairways and some of the changes they've made, I think they've made some of the fairways like a little bit slimmer. They've added more trees, as I said, so there's if you do miss the fairway, there's going to be a little bit more to work with in the rough now. So the way he's just been up and down, again, I just didn't have the full confidence to back him. Morikawa was probably the toughest one of the best lot to leave out. Again, another incredible iron player that hits a lot of greens. At 16-1, a decent price, but really the main reason that I left him out was his game around the green, the scrambling and the ability to scramble. It's just been nowhere near good enough compared to a lot of the big tour players, and he said that himself, and that is one of the main reason why I've left him out. And on that same note is Victor Hovland, really similar to kind of Morikawa in terms of just an incredible kind of iron player and reaching the green. But again, just scrambling, he's been working on it a lot recently. He's talked about it as well, about how he's not confident in it. So again, I've just kind of lost confidence in him in terms of this particular course. I just don't think it's going to be the right one for him, because I feel like there is going to be a lot of players that, even though they might be hitting greens, like I said, that they could actually end up being off the green a lot of the time, because it's a really tough course with these new greens. Bryson DeChambeau, I've left out, even though he's another big favourite, just because I'm not sure where his game's at. He's really hit and miss as well. He can dominate courses, but he could also just come on and shoot like 8s and 9s and just lose his temper with himself. And I think in this golf course this weekend, it's going to be a tough one where, you know, driving accuracy is going to be important. Again, with the changes to the rough, I'm not sure if Bryson's going to handle that well. And then playing out of that rough and trying to get to these new hard greens, the way he hits it and how hard he hits it, I think he's going to have a real tough time keeping his accuracy where he wants it to be for this tournament. Tony Finau, I mean, I'd love to see him win again, but you know, he's just been talked about a lot. I don't know when he's going to win. Who knows when he's going to win again? But he has shown some really good form recently, and he comes in at 28s to 1 compared to like Bryson that comes in at 18s, Hovland that comes in at 18s, and Morikawa that I said comes in at 16s. So it might not be a bad bet. He is definitely due to win sometime again. And then the final one that I haven't picked is Matsuyama. I think it's been really strange since he got the green jacket. I mean, he's just kind of gone under the radar. People haven't been really picking him for their favourites in tournaments. And if you look at like DraftKings, for example, not many people are choosing him, which has been a little bit strange. He's been playing some decent golf even since the Masters. So at 25 to 1, you know, I wouldn't rule out the Masters champion because, you know, he's obviously playing some good golf and can definitely win this weekend. But in terms of the final two that I've picked and my kind of favourites of that top bunch, my first one is Corey Connors. I think he's been playing some incredible golf for I don't know how many weeks now. And he's normally just really consistent throughout the weekends, just plays some great stuff. He's had 7 top 10s in 2021. A really accurate driver of the ball, and another one that hits a lot of greens. So I think those two things combined are going to be really good. His scrambling game's not great, but it's not bad. So I think he's going to be one that's going to be in contention again this weekend. At 33s to 1, he's not one of the big favourites. So I quite like him as a good bet. He did have a bit of a bumpy tournament last week. I think he had maybe the Saturday round or the Friday round where he kind of messed up a little bit and looked really out of shape. But like I said, he normally is very consistent, so I feel like he's going to bounce back this weekend. And then my final pick, one of the favourites of the tournament, but my favourite of the tournament is going to be Jordan Spieth. Again, a really difficult one not to choose. I mean, the guy is just in such a good headspace right now. His golf game is just coming back every week, better and better. And again, if you're talking about scramblers, people that are going to need to scramble from around the green, who else better than Jordan Spieth? So I think he's going to be a really good pick. Not only the fact that he scrambles well, but we all know that when Jordan's putter gets hot, it gets really hot. And I think, you know, he showed that last week up until the Sunday where he failed. So I think at 14 to 1, he's the second favourite overall. He's going to be my main overall pick of the favourites. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I want to know your thoughts on it. Leave your comments below of who you think is going to win, who you think is going to finish as maybe an outside favourite or a top 5 that's an outsider, and then give me some of your dark horse picks as well of the ones that are maybe 101 or higher. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, give me a like, and you can also hit that subscribe button below. All right, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.